Get you caught up on a little bit of what's trending here on Golic and Wingo. And man, it's been quite a year for Trey's Baylor Bears.
Sick 'em, baby.
Top-ranked Baylor beat Oklahoma 65-54 to win its 23rd straight game, breaking the Big 12 record set by Kansas back in 1996, a team led by Paul Pearson, Rafe LaFrentz.
Yes. By the way, Scott Drew, great job, Baylor men's basketball coach.
They became just the third team to start 13-0 in Big 12 play, joining 2009-2010 Kansas and 2001-2002 Kansas. Baylor's next game is a home game against number 3 Kansas. That'll be Saturday at noon Eastern on ESPN. According to ESPN's pregame matchup quality metric, this is the best game in college basketball this season, a 99 rating out of 100. That's next gen. ESPN's College Game Day begins at 11 a.m. Eastern from Waco, Texas. Yeah. College Game Day in Waco twice this year.
There you go,
you guys.
baby.
More Waco, the Lady Bears.
Yeah, Kimmy. Yeah, Kim. Yeah, K-Money.
Head coach Kim Mulkey, the fastest coach to 600 wins when her team, ranked number 2 in the country, beat Texas Tech 77-62. Mulkey reached that milestone in fewer games, in only 700 games. She is 600 and 100 in her first 700 games. And she reached that milestone in fewer games than any other Division I men's or women's coach ever. Mulkey, who has 3 national championships in 20 seasons at Baylor, has that 600 and 100 record. Insane. And some player movement in the NFL offseason. No, it's not Tom Brady. No, it's not Drew Brees. Former Panthers tight end Greg Olsen has agreed to a 1-year, $7 million deal with the Seattle Seahawks, according to our own Adam Schefter. On Tuesday, the contract includes $5.5 million in guaranteed money. Olsen visited with Buffalo, Seattle, and Washington, but felt most comfortable with the Seahawks, the source said. Olsen and the Panthers mutually agreed to part ways in January after 9 seasons. I can only hope they let him keep calling XFL games because he's been awesome at that too. What's Trending is brought to you by Redbox. Don't miss award-nominated Ford vs. Ferrari, starring Matt Damon and Christian Bale. Rent it now at Redbox for under $2 a night.
Golic and Wingo with you as we are presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pencil Performance Line. So the news came out yesterday that Drew Brees is coming back for at least one more season. And by the way, in a gangster move, he posted that while he was in Hawaii. Let's just be clear about that. On the island of Kauai, by the way, where I ran into Drew a couple seasons ago. He's built a place out there. He's doing things right.
I was gonna say, I have to imagine he's not on the same part of the island as everybody else.
There's a very nice part of the island of Kauai where Drew is. Let's just leave it at that. It's a really nice place to be. I'm not going to lie to you. So, I mean, by the way, when you post an Instagram without a contract from Hawaii, you feel pretty confident that the contract is going to not really be much of an issue.
Exactly.
Right?
You know what? I feel like Drew and the Saints, especially given their history, have worked through more in the ways of uncomfortable contractual situations than where they're at now, where we know this is the end for both sides. We know Drew has said he only wants to be in New Orleans or he wants to be retired. And so when the motivation is that clear and true free agency isn't really a threat like it is with Tom Brady, I think you're pretty safe.
Right. But the other thing that's really interesting here to me is that the Drew Brees part of the equation for the Saints is the least interesting in terms of what happens for the Saints going forward, right? Drew's going to be the guy. We knew that as soon as he said he's coming back. And again, how close they've been. They've lost 3 straight playoff games on the last play of the game. Now, to be fair, technically, you always lose on the last play of the game when you don't have enough points, but the winning points were scored on the last play of the game in the most excruciating way they've sort of had it play out. To me, the more fascinating thing is about what happens with the other 2 quarterbacks currently on their roster. One of them is going to be an unrestricted free agent in Teddy Bridgewater. The other one is going to be Taysom Hill, who's going to be a restricted free agent, and what the Saints are going to do with Taysom, because Sean Payton, the head coach, loves to insert Taysom Hill into game situations in all kinds of places. I mean, he covers kicks. You know, he blocks on kick return. He does everything for them.
But like, that's the interesting part, is having a Swiss Army knife of a player is awesome. And I think most NFL teams, now you see some people kind of experimenting with that idea of, all right, can we take a guy, former college quarterback, good athlete, and stick him in a bunch of places, because it becomes a very interesting and very useful weapon for you. Yeah. But there's a difference between that and what's happened this offseason, which is all of the Taysom Hill is potential franchise quarterback offseason. And that's not from just everybody else. That's a stated Taysom Hill goal. But I'm amazed that despite the sample size as a quarterback, How many people seem bought into that idea?
Well, really, the person who's most bought into it is Sean Payton, and that's what's really interesting. We'll get to that in a minute. But as is normally the case, Adam Schefter has great timing. He had Taysom Hill on his podcast recently, and Taysom basically says, hey, yeah, I know that there might be interest, but in my heart of hearts, I want to stay where I am.
I have so much respect and admiration for Drew. I will support him and, for as long as I can, and I hope he continues to play. And obviously there's a process going to restricted free agency, and we'll go through that process and see what happens. But man, I would love to play with Drew again. And I think having had 3 years behind him, it really has been the best thing for my career. And if that turns out to have another year to learn from him, it's only going to make me that much better.
So, Junior, the good news is, if you're the Saints, he wants to be there. That's half the equation. Because the other thing he said on the Adam Schefter podcast is that he really wants to be a franchise quarterback.
As far as, being a franchise quarterback, it's an interesting thing because I've played quarterback my entire life. And as I stepped into the NFL, my mindset and the sound bites that I gave was, man, all you can really hope for when you get to the NFL is that you have an opportunity to compete and be the guy for a franchise. And that's never changed for me. I still have that same vision. I still have that same goal, to have the opportunity to be that guy for a franchise. And at the end of the day, I believe in myself. So, that's never changed. That's what I've always been. And obviously with Coach Payton and his creativity, the first few years of my career has gone down a different path, but the vision for myself has never changed.
It is amazing to think about Taysom Hill's career arc, and obviously coming into it a completely different way. This is in a lot of people's minds what Tim Tebow could have been, right?
Sure.
Like this could have absolutely been a route where you are used in other roles like that. But now for the Saints, the decision going forward here, because you've got a guy that, again, you said the head coach really loves. We had a guy in Teddy Bridgewater on that roster.
5-0.
5-0 for
5-0
with the team as presently constructed. And I think you look at the rest of the Saints roster, and that's the key is, are you willing to take the risk of Taysom Hill, knowing that the rest of your roster is by and large very Super Bowl ready on defense with some of the offensive weapons you have, your offensive line? Are you willing to risk that versus what you've got in Teddy Bridgewater? And can you even keep Teddy at this point?
Well, listen, it's interesting, right? Because Teddy is more of a traditional quarterback and was the starter when Drew Brees went out, not Taysom Hill, and they went 5-0 with him. But in the way they're going to be packaged this offseason, I wonder who has more value, because I can promise you a team like the Patriots would be very interested in someone like Taysom Hill. And so what tender do you want to put on him? I think that the Saints are thinking they're going to put a first-round tender on him, and would someone like New England offer a first-round tender for a guy like Taysom Hill because of the many things he can do?
I can say it's amazing, the idea of playing yourself into a first-round pick.
Yeah.
That's essentially what Taysom Hill would have done in all of this, and to have that value. Because, to even ask the question, can Taysom Hill be a franchise quarterback, is insane, because we have no idea. He's thrown 13 passes.
Yeah.
We cannot say with any degree of certainty. With Teddy Bridgewater, you can say, you know what, he's got first-round pedigree. We've seen him as a starter in this league. There's got to be comfort there. But even then, he's still, the third quarterback that's going to be the domino this offseason behind Brady and Rivers?
Well, the Teddy Bridgewater thing is interesting. We'll have a much longer discussion with that going forward, because this is going to be the most interesting market for quarterbacks I've ever seen in an offseason, even with Drew Brees off the market and Eli Manning retiring. There's going to be so much movement, and I just wonder if there's a team out there that really believes that Teddy Bridgewater is their first plan, or is he really their backup plan for more than anything else, despite what he's been able to do. And that's going to be a really interesting part of the quarterback carousel this offseason, which free agency officially opens, I think, March 16th through 18th with the legal tampering, which is the dumbest phrase of all time, because if it's tampering, it's illegal, and if it's illegal, it's not tampering. Just want to throw that out there. Coming up, why one king is criticizing somebody else's reign, and he ain't wrong. We'll get to that after this.
After this word, Parsons Extreme Golf.
Yeah.
Enjoy the game of golf even more with a custom set of PXG clubs. Go to pxg.com to configure your clubs and buy. For a personal recommendation at your convenience, call 1-844-PLAY-PXG to speak to a PXG fitting expert, or for the full PXG fitting experience, go ahead and schedule an in-person appointment with a local PXG Master Fitter. Call or visit our website to book now. PXG, nobody makes golf clubs the way we do, period. What Trey Wingo and the GOAT have in common. Back after.